Well, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Frey definitely might have some charges coming. And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis explains why these blue state problems aren't problems in his red state of Florida. But first, if you like our content, please support us by subscribing, liking, and ringing that notification bell so you never miss out on any one of our new videos.
Their analysis, Saul Weisenberg, Fox News contributor and former deputy independent counsel, and Mike Davis, Article 3 project president, former law clerk to Justice Neil Gorsuch. Saul, let's start with you. The details are still coming in, but your initial thoughts about this charge, 18 U.S.C. 372, I believe, conspiracy to impede federal agents. Could this stick?
Well, they certainly have a right to investigate it, and some of the statements made by the governor and certainly the mayor are very disturbing. As you know, it's hard to go after people for even under federal criminal statutes for conduct that is pure speech. So we'll have to wait and see how the facts develop. But the idea that you would not be able to start an investigation based upon this, I completely reject.
And when we talk about using language and words, and let's go to Mike on this, it's really language and words that lead to action on the part of the agitators on the ground. When you're telling them to film, to track, and calling this an invasion, Mike, that comes pretty close to incitement. And one would think you get text messages and you get emails, and the story might actually get a lot spicier for them.
Yeah, under the Constitution, our U.S. Congress writes our immigration laws on behalf of the American people. Congress decides who gets to come and who has to go, and the president has a constitutional duty to enforce those federal immigration laws. That is the supreme law of the land, and these local governors, these local mayors cannot interfere with federal immigration enforcement. That is not only is it assaults on federal law enforcement, you're looking at insurrection and seditious conspiracy, along with harboring, conspiracy in general, and many other serious federal felonies when you are inciting people to commit violent acts to physically obstruct federal law enforcement. So I would say to Governor Walz and to Mayor Frey, you better back down or you're going to end up in federal prison.
I would say that words have definitely been the motivating factor that have been the cause of these violent riots. I mean, just recently, Jacob Frey himself said that I should get the F out and even blamed them for the death of Renee Good. Now, he's even gone as far as suggesting that the Minneapolis police may have to push back against ICE. And just watch the face of the Minneapolis police chief as to Jacob Frey's right.
A lot that we don't know at this time, but what I can tell you for certain is that this is not sustainable. This is an impossible situation that our city is presently being put in. And at the same time, we are trying to find a way forward to keep people safe, to protect our neighbors, to maintain order. And we're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street, to stand by their neighbors. We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another.
Now, there are around 3,000 ICE officers who have been deployed in Minneapolis, and there's 600 Minneapolis police officers on the force. Of course, this is all because the Democrats have this anti-police mentality, especially with the George Floyd riots, trying to keep their constituents happy, which are these agitators you see out in Minneapolis today. It might actually be good for Mayor Frey to work with ICE on this one, instead of trying to push back and create an insurrection, as this is clearly looking to be. Now, this next clip shows exactly why Frey continues to be the problem without even realizing it.
Meanwhile, we have ICE agents throughout our city and throughout our state who, along with Border Control, are creating chaos. This is not the path that we should be on right now in America. Thankfully, there's another path. And I want to talk to everybody who's out there, even people who aren't living in Minneapolis right now. Maybe you just put your kids to bed. Maybe you're cleaning up the dishes. I'm sure you love your family. There's no doubt in my mind that you love your town. Imagine if that city or that town was suddenly invaded by thousands of federal agents that do not share the values that you hold dear. Imagine if your daily routines were disrupted. The local cafe that you eat at was shut down because they're scared that their own family might get torn apart. Imagine if schools shut down and suddenly parents got to figure out what to do for daycare. This is not creating safety.
ICE is not creating chaos. This quote-unquote chaos is being perpetuated by the lies pushed forward in the media and then backed up and repeated by the Democrats. Stating that ICE and other federal officers don't care about the cities they're going into or about the people in them is just false. It's spreading fear and it's pushing people more into the streets and causing these riots. In fact, these agents might care a bit more than your average citizen since they're out there every day putting their life on the line to find these terrible, despicable, illegal immigrants. These ones that are child rapists, murderers, killers, drug traffickers, and so on and so forth. And another thing, those who are scared that their families might be torn apart or their businesses lost because of their status should have everything, honestly, should have everything put forward and prepared when they get into the country. That's what you need to do. That's what people I know who married immigrants did. They got their paperwork in a row and then they came here and then they got jobs and so forth. It's called planning ahead. There's no reason why schools or any other thing should have to shut down aside from the fact that people are scared because they're believing these lies that Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, and the media are pushing forward. But imagine, this is a crazy concept. What if these cities, these Democrat-run cities, actually worked with ICE to find these dangerous people, the ones who are actually causing fear in the community? Florida doesn't seem to have the problem that Minnesota does. In fact, they have the perfect solution to help work with ICE and keep the community safe. Florida doesn't seem to have a problem that other blue states do. In fact, they knew just what to do when a protester punched an officer in the face.
Back here in my free state of Florida, a few scattered radical left protesters are trying hard to emulate their friends in Minnesota by interfering with immigration enforcement operations, but they are getting a very different result. Here's what happened when one woman decided, allegedly punched a Florida trooper in the face. Spoiler alert, this did not end well for her. Take a look. You.
Weak ass. Don't you dare start kicking. No, stop. Close. Lift your head up.
Florida Attorney General posted a picture of the alleged assailant, writing, quote, "This is Jennifer Cruz of Jacksonville. Jennifer disagrees with immigration enforcement and decided to commit a few felonies by getting out of her car and punching a trooper in the face. But unlike Minnesota, well, we don't put up with this nonsense. Not today, Jennifer." Florida Governor Ron DeSantis replied to the Florida AG's post and wrote, quote, "Yeah, really bad decision to attack one of our troopers. This isn't Minneapolis."
In Florida, the police actually work with and appreciate a federal presence in the state. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis explains why here.
So if you're trying to interrupt law enforcement just doing their job, which keeps us safe, we are going to hold you accountable and buckle up. You picked the wrong state to mess around with.
You know, it's such a different mentality than, say, Minnesota or California, sanctuary states with sanctuary cities, and even illegal immigrants that are in jail when they are released. Rather than hand them over to ICE, they know their status. They know they committed crimes. They don't care. What do? They let them out. They protect them when they should be handing them over to the federal government. What happens in Florida? Explain the difference.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're in one of our jails, so we're the only state in the country where all state and local law enforcement are legally obligated to assist DHS with immigration enforcement. And so, of course, if they end up in a jail and they're here illegally, ICE will be alerted, and then they will be able to take the suspect and put them in immigration. Now, there's sometimes people commit really serious crimes. They get convicted in Florida courts, and so they end up going to prison to serve that debt. And then when they get out of prison, DHS will come and take them. You know, when Biden was president, even though we would always alert DHS, there were people that they refused to pick up who had served time for committing felonies. Under President Trump, it's like clockwork. As soon as somebody is in jail, coming out of prison, they are turned over to ICE and they are sent away. And in fact, just in the last year, since President Trump's been in office, state and local law enforcement throughout Florida have assisted with almost 20,000 apprehensions of illegal aliens. And so that's over and above what the feds would normally be doing. And you know what, Sean? Because we work with ICE and work with the administration, you don't see Minneapolis happen in Florida. You don't see a lot of the things happening to that scale because we're actually all on the same team here.
And that's what should happen. They should be on the same team. Tell you what, in my opinion, all these Democrat mayors and governors should just go down to Florida for a nice brief vacation. We'll call it a workshop. And they can work with Governor Ron DeSantis and the people of Florida and any other red state like Texas or Louisiana and see how they work with ICE to help make their streets safer without allowing their citizens to riot. But that's just my opinion. Now, what do you think? Do you think people like Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey are going to change the way they speak about ICE? Or are they going to continue pushing back until more people get injured or killed? Please let me know and discuss one in the comments below.